Hello learners, welcome back to the course on learning and development in organization. Today we'll go into details of knowledge management. We'll try to discuss what makes knowledge management very critical. We also will look into what are the different components associated with knowledge management within an organization. Look into the people, we'll look into the process, look into the different stakeholders with respect to knowledge management. We'll also look into what specifically knowledge management comprises of. Here, I would like to ascertain one thing, that we are going forward with the organic view specifically, rather than the systems point of view when we are looking into knowledge management. I'm Dr. Cyril Issac. I'm an assistant professor at the School of Business, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. Today's session will revolve around the interesting theme: you can't teach people everything they need to know. The best you can do is to position them where they can find what they need to know and when they need to know. So the timing as well as the content is relevant, but you have to ascertain that as a typical aspect when it comes to knowledge management. So this will be the underlying theme for today's discussion. Let's look into the components of knowledge management. As I mentioned, knowledge management always becomes a successful venture or successful phenomena when you have the coordination of all the different aspects, be it people, be it process, be it the content, the information as such, be it the governance, or be it the strategy. So when you look into knowledge management, it's not just like some assimilation of knowledge coming into picture. It's not just some people taking care of knowledge management. It is a totality of all these individual fragments, be it people, be it process, be it the content, the information which acts as a backbone of the knowledge management system, the governance, the strategy, everything comes together to form the knowledge management. Let's understand this in a more detailed fashion. Let's start with people today. The most important factor, if you ask me, with respect to knowledge management is undoubtedly people. People serve as the custodians of knowledge, applying it within the organization. So when you are looking into people, organizations require individuals to lead, to support and promote knowledge related activities such as be it sharing, be it caring, creation, dissemination, etc. So there are two main groups of people. One is typically the senior leaders, to provide the sponsorship and insight into broader organizational strategy. Another is the cross-functional stakeholders, who are there to guide the implementation. So to ensure success, knowledge management must be a priority. There is no doubt about it. It should be a priority. As knowledge management programs evolve in any organization, those organizations typically develop a dedicated knowledge management team that appoints knowledge management champions and facilitators across various business units and form an executive steering committee to oversee whatever are the long-term effects. So this is how, moving ahead, the organization strives. And this is what we generally see in terms of why people become a necessary stakeholder within the knowledge management framework. So successful knowledge management implementation requires engaged individuals at all levels and departments to integrate knowledge sharing into the organizational culture. However, this doesn't necessarily typically require excessive spending or significant time commitments, especially when processes are efficient, technology is user-friendly, and the strategy is well-defined. Now let's move into the second important component, which is process. You look into process. Processes are nothing but the flow of activities within the organization. So processes enable people to execute, to create, to store, capture, organize, and distribute knowledge. So this is what marks the relevance of the process. Organizations, typically, they need to define the processes to manage and measure the knowledge flows that exist within the organization. Organizations, should have a transparent system for all the knowledge management steps while also leaving room for typical innovation. The knowledge management process, if you ask me, in organizations, they allow knowledge flow similar to something like a city water supply. Once someone needs it, they immediately turn the tap. Therefore, the knowledge management team should be like a city planner who knows everything about the steps of the knowledge flow. This is the example I can give with respect to the typical knowledge management framework that should exist in any successful organization. Now, when we look into process, the following are the recommended steps for the knowledge management teams to build into organizations' business processes. First, you have to create new knowledge, and this happens every day, all the time, across all walks of business, all areas of business. Second is to identify knowledge that is critical to strategy and operations. You have to think of collecting typically knowledge so it can be shared with others. This is typically the mottos. Finally, we look into the review part, reviewing knowledge to evaluate its relevancy, its accuracy and applicability. Then we think of sharing the knowledge where it happens through documentation, even some informal posts or even some collaborative activities specifically. Then we are concerned about the access. You look into knowledge through pull. The pull factors like the search factors or push factors like the alerts, mechanisms, and finally we use the knowledge to solve problem faster and make more informed decisions typically. So when you look into the components of knowledge management, process happens to be one of the key aspects. Now let's look into technology. Technology being an important component of knowledge management, it supports the knowledge management implementation by enabling users to search, to share and access knowledge efficiently. So it enhances, no doubt about it, communication and provides real-time information, something which is very vital in today's world, improving the decision making. So technology integrates knowledge with organizational processes, boosting performance and competitive advantage. So if you ask me, without technology, knowledge sharing and management can become very challenging. But with proper tools, content can be created, accessed and reused effectively, accelerating the knowledge transfer and innovation. Now let's move into the content and the information part, the most important backbone of the knowledge management framework. Content and information. It involves connecting individuals with relevant knowledge at the right time. So content typically includes documented knowledge such as, say, what we see as data, facts, the best practices that are used in an organization, informal tips within the organization, they also form part of the content and the information. So typically, organizations should establish structured KM programs, knowledge management programs, workflows for content creation and validation, and classification system to enhance accessibility. So you typically need workflows. You also typically need classification systems. Classification systems to enhance the accessibility. So modern organizations, they implement content management systems typically to foster the collaboration and innovation and process automation. Let's now understand the governance part. Governance, it defines the roles and responsibilities in the knowledge management initiatives. So it provides a structured framework ensuring that knowledge management process deliver expected benefits. So effective KM governance is essential for success as many organizations struggle due to poor implementation. When you are looking into typically governance, it ensures standardization, it ensures consistency and efficiency in the knowledge management initiatives, guiding both the typical implementation and ongoing management. It also addresses risk management, addresses accountability and even financial oversight. So without governance, establishing the knowledge management strategies becomes a very significant challenge. Now let's look into the strategy part. When you look into strategy, it involves the planning and aligning the knowledge management initiatives with organizational goals. So a well-defined knowledge management strategy must identify the opportunities, address the challenges and set clear objectives. You look into the strategy part, it should be linked to governance policies, organizational structures, environmental factors and even to a great extent to the corporate culture. So these are some of the typical aspects concerning strategy. So a strategic approach ensures the knowledge management initiatives effectively contribute to business growth and operational success. So when you are looking into the components specifically, you have seen the relevance of people, you have seen the relevance of process, you have seen the relevance of content, information, governance and strategy. Now, it's time to look into the benefits of knowledge management. Let's start with the process part. But when you talk about the benefits of knowledge management, please do understand that implementing knowledge management enables organizations to achieve both operational efficiencies and broader organization goals. So typically the experts emphasize that the knowledge management's value extends beyond the knowledge creation. Many a time a narrow school of thought is that knowledge management is equal to knowledge creation, but it is not like that. Knowledge management also drives significant business benefits. For instance, knowledge management enhances processes such as, say, communication, efficiency, and overall organizational performance, including financial and marketing improvements. So when you talk about knowledge management specifically, the benefits of that, you have to look into first the process outcomes. Process outcomes can be divided typically into two: communication and efficiency. In communication, you see that it has a typical ability to enhance the communication, improve the staff morale, build employee expertise, more visible opinions of the staff comes into picture, increased staff participation, promotes sense of inclusive achievements. Whereas when you look from the efficiency point of view, there is reduced problem solving time, you have shortened proposal times, you have improvement in quality, you have productivity improvement, you avoid duplicated work, and there are always faster and better decision making processes happening because of knowledge management and the successful execution of the knowledge management framework. When you look into the benefits from an organizational standpoint, you have typical organizational outcomes, be it the financial part, be it the marketing part, be it the general activities. In terms of the finance part, you will see that there's increased sales, decreased costs, mitigating risk is a factor, higher profitability is a factor, providing new revenue resources is a factor, competitive advantage is also emerging as a factor. When you come to marketing, typically the focus, customer focus happens to be one of the primary area of benefit. Customer satisfaction similarly, targeted marketing, proactive marketing are also typical outputs or benefits of knowledge management. You come to general activities, you see that there is a typical personnel reduction which increases the efficiency of the organization, the cost saving part of the organization. It improves the project management, it prevents knowledge hoarding. We had a slight discussion on knowledge hoarding and hiding, etc. It encourages leadership and teamwork. And we look into the knowledge management assets typically. You have to understand this from the standpoint of some empirical research literature. According to Marr 2003, organizations typically possess 6 key knowledge assets, and if I have to actually look into that, I will say that the first and the foremost one is stakeholder relationships. It includes licensing agreements, It includes partnerships, contracts, and distribution agreements. You look into the human resource part, you have the typical aspects like employee skills, their expertise, the commitment, loyalty, motivation, etc. You look into the physical infrastructure part. You will see that it covers the office setup and information and communication technologies like databases, emails, and even the intranet part. When you look into the culture element, it reflects the organizational values, the employee networks, the management philosophy. What is a typical management philosophy? That is also coming under the culture part. You look into the practices and routines, you see that it comprises both formal and informal process guidelines, which includes the rules, the procedures, and unspoken workplace norms typically. And finally, you look into the intellectual property. It consists of the patents, copyrights, the trademarks, brands, registered designs and trade secrets, etc. So these are typically some of the knowledge management assets every organizations have. Now let's look into the challenges. When you talk about knowledge management, it's not that everything is rosy and everything is beautiful. There are typical challenges in knowledge management, and they are, first one, in knowledge acquisition, please note, capturing and transforming raw information into usable knowledge, including, let's say, making tacit knowledge explicit and integrating data from multiple sources. That is a big challenge when you consider the knowledge acquisition part. When you consider the knowledge, typically the modeling part, you'll see that structuring knowledge for problem solving using models like ontologies, to organize and define relationship emerges as a challenge in knowledge management. You have knowledge retrieval. You talk about efficiently locating relevant knowledge in large repositories and dynamically extracting content for specific problems. There is a typical challenge that emerges in case of knowledge retrieval. There are also problems in knowledge reuse, overcoming the tendency to create knowledge from scratch by promoting the repurposing of existing knowledge for cost-effective solutions. This can also emerge as a significant challenge. You talk about knowledge publishing, ensuring the right knowledge reaches the right person in the right format at the right time, enhancing its usability and impact. That can also emerge as a challenge. And finally, the maintenance, like any running motor or any vehicle, keeping knowledge repositories updated, verifying the content accuracy, and discarding outdated information to maintain relevance and reliability also emerges as one of the significant challenges. So in today's session, I wanted to give you a bird's eye view about typically what is knowledge management. We looked into the different frameworks, different components of knowledge management. We looked into the relevance of people. We looked into the importance of the process. We looked into the importance of the backbone, the information, the content. Many a time what happens, knowledge management is not fully understood or comprehended as an asset because we fail to see the relevance of people. Sometimes we fail to see the relevance of the content, the strategy that is associated with knowledge management. So all these typical factors, all these typical components together make knowledge management a successful phenomena. You take anything out of picture, you take people out of picture, there will not be any knowledge sharing possible. You take the process out of picture, there might not be any efficient transfer of knowledge possible. You take the content out of picture, that means there is no knowledge to share. You take the strategy out of picture, people are not having the intent to share the knowledge. You might have people, you might have process, you might have the content, but you don't have a strategy to share knowledge. That also makes knowledge management void. So you need all these components to work together in an organization to have a successful knowledge management framework. We looked into the benefits, we also looked into the challenges, but my point here is that a synchronous effort of all the typical components, if I can use the word stakeholders, within the knowledge management purview will only make knowledge management a successful phenomena in the organization. Thank you for listening to me patiently. We look into more details of knowledge management and the relationship of that towards learning and development in the next session. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.